Neighbor.
Thank you, Chair. I also want to just preface this by saying it's an honor to serve on this committee. The state of Missouri has had for nearly 50 years someone on this committee to ask important questions and advocate for the people of the state. Southwest, of course, serves St. Louis and Kansas City, probably the principal carrier, certainly in St. Louis, I know in Kansas City too. And so I'm not going to rehash a lot of the questions that have been asked. I do want to ask those specifically on the IT and the technology issues that have been identified as part of the problem. What is the plan moving forward for that kind of maintenance and repair? Is there a schedule that's been put forth from an operational perspective? How are you guys addressing this in the long term?
Thank you, Senator. So with regards to our flight scheduling software, there was a specific issue we had during the disruption, and that one will be put in, a fix we put in tomorrow into production. But the overall flight scheduling system, we're looking to upgrade or replace that. So we've conducted a request for information from software vendors, evaluated those, and we'll be going to a request for proposal here after we have the findings from our assessment of what went wrong and after we re-engage with our flight attendant and pilot unions.
Now, is that the Sky Solver software?
The system we call Sky Solver, Senator, is what has for patch, for lack of a better word, they'll be implemented tomorrow. Sky Solver is a decision support tool, not necessarily a scheduling tool. The scheduling tool underneath that is the one that functioned fine during the meltdown, is one that we're looking to replace over the course of this year and next, and that's one that we'll engage with our unions on.
Okay, and then Dr. Winson, I have a question for you. Are you there, Dr. Winson? No longer?
Yes, I'm there.
Oh, okay. There we go. Thank you. And I know that we've obviously been very focused on what happened with Southwest, but there was a more disruption in travel in January. And as you may recall, thousands of flights couldn't take off because of a failure of the FAA's NOTAM system. And I think it was Captain Murray that mentioned the normalizing of organizational drift. And I want to address that here with the Department of Transportation as it considers more red tape and regulations. In December of 2021, the system known as the Notice to Airmen system was changed to the Notice to Air Mission systems to be, as I quote, more inclusive to all aviators and missions. And with the 23 FAA reauthorization bill approaching, how can we ensure that the FAA stays true to its mission of making sure that it's the safest, most efficient aerospace system in the world as opposed to this kind of virtue signaling?
Well, I think the position that we've had now for many, many years is that it's really a bad idea to have the FAA both be a regulatory agency and a technology agency. It's not really equipped to do both. And I think the general recommendation is that we split the FAA to have a regulatory part and a technology part, and that technology part should be privatized. And the model for that is Air Canada. And I think that's really where we can make progress. And as you know, FAA has been talking about a new air traffic control system for decades, and repeatedly it's found to be over budget, behind schedule, but most importantly, it's behind the technology. Other countries have satellite-based air traffic control. Give much more freedom to more efficient flight paths to pilots. We don't have that. We still have a radar-based system, and that's obviously something that puts us behind. So I think the recommendation of legislation that's been around for quite a while to separate FAA into a regulatory group and then have a new group to do work on the technology is sound, and that's what I would suggest that you focus on.
Dr. Winson, just to follow up on that, do you know how much time was spent, again, trying to address this kind of language as opposed to putting that time and effort into making sure the system works best for customers and that it's on time and it's safe? Because this is not the first time the Department of Transportation's engaged, again, in this kind of virtue signaling. Are you aware of how much time, or how could that time be better spent?
Well, if we're interested, frankly, in improving air travel and reducing delays and cancellations, start with the airports. I'm serious. Introduce congestion pricing at airports. That could make an incredible difference in terms of the efficiency of the system.
Thank you.